Polish officers have been continuously exposing themselves daily on the Polish-Belarusian border since 2021. This week, their service was observed up close by our journalist Michał Jelonek. Every now and then, they throw rocks and jars at us. They break the jars. I'll give you the route. You take a picture and you can go. As Polish border guards and Polish army soldiers risk their lives to repel a Russian-Belarusian hybrid attack, Prime Minister Donald Tusk announces the possibility of opening a border crossing with Belarus in Bobrovniki. In Poland, everywhere without exception, people suffered multiple consequences as a result of the war. Now that there is a war, you know how farmers and transport workers feel. These consequences in the opening of the border to Ukraine, the direct consequences of the war, are visible. At this point, the sudden recording on the official media of the civic platform stops. There are so-called technical errors, and the recording returns only when the Prime Minister finishes talking about the border. However, the whole thing was recorded and published by TVP, where these errors were no longer present, although the signal was coming from exactly the same camera. The direct consequences of the war, all of this has resulted in the fact that these losses are not as severe and as targeted as here. I'll be analyzing from Monday. And I hope to be ready with some proposals within a few days. But we have to analyze it, if it is possible to unblock one border crossing. The Polish Prime Minister assures that he will make a decision after talks with the services. However, this particular crossing in Bobrovniki was closed as a protest against the unlawful imprisonment of Polish journalist Andrzej Poczobut, who is being persecuted by the Minsk regime. The journalist is still imprisoned, and the situation for Poles in Belarus continues to be grave. This border crossing was supposed to be closed until Andrzej Poczobut was released, and he is now diverting because he met with a group of entrepreneurs. Donald Tusk's camp is constantly being indecisive over the border issue. On the one hand, the Prime Minister is winking at Alexander Lukashenko when talking about opening the Bobrovniki crossing, and on the other, the government is announcing a 10 billion zloty investment in the East Shield. The idea is to create barriers, such as those of a natural nature, such as swamps, marshes, and obstructions for the passage of troops. It's not worth anything. Nothing is known. Some vague announcements are made about artificial swamps. Some bunkers are to be created. We just don't really know anything about what it means and whether the 10 billion is even an adequate amount. You can see improvisation and just slogans being thrown around. Recall that it was the Civic Coalition politicians who, when the attack on our border began, bought into Moscow's propaganda, insulted Polish border guards, and called for accepting migrants. Let these people into Poland at last. Who they are will be determined later. These are poor people who are looking for their place on earth, and there is no need to make such disgusting and grim propaganda targeting migrants. These are people who need help. Tusk's weakness is now resulting in very brutal attacks on our soldiers and officers. On May 29th and 30th alone, Polish services recorded 310 attempts to illegally cross the border. This week, 5 Polish uniformed officers were injured. The condition of one of them is serious. Paweł Włoch, TV Republika.